I'd say the greatest takeaway you can get from this is knowing that these things that you see, just because they're raised in the air and they're away from the ground level, and you see them weaving in and out of the crevices or hanging out and basking, they're already there. You just don't see them when they're in the weeds most of the time. They're hiding. So when they come out, peep their head out here, you just notice them. I mean, this doesn't, to me, create any more danger than whatever. Of course, you could have a water moccasin or a coral snake or something in there, or a rattlesnake, but they're here too. If you're really scared or are fearful that something's going to bite you, just before you dig in that area, just take a stick or something and just wiggle it. Just try to scare them away if they're there. Try to make them move off, and then work your magic in the garden. This is another day shooting this video, and looks like our tropical canna lilies that we got from the clearance rack is fixing to bloom again. So today, let's talk about like the price of groceries and trying to justify maybe the expense of gardening and doing, planting fruit trees and edible crops. So I'll relay something someone else told me that owned a nursery, a kind of a brokerage. I don't think they did their own propagation or anything like that. They went to like a popco where people, I guess it's massively propagated subtropical plants, tropical plants, possibly some temperate plants. So it's for somebody in North Central Florida, that's like the main area they go to, a little bit south of here, around Orlando, if you don't know where Popka is. And they massively buy wholesale plants. So the conversation came up one day about citrus trees, and she just had a blanket statement, if you buy a citrus tree, it's never going to pay off, in fruit, and she was a reseller. And I think that is a lot of misinformation. I mean, despite citrus greening being an issue here, a lot of times, you'll have a citrus tree that's not very productive, or it might die, the first winter, or get some kind of disease or something in a few years, and just not put on any or enough fruit to justify the cost. But, my father, after our house burnt down, bought a citrus tree, I think in 1992. He bought probably 2 or 3 of them. One of them might have lasted 10 years. It got kind of diseased, and it had an okay production for a short time. But the second one, has been productive at least until about 4 or 5 years ago, when and it still produces some edible fruit each year. We've just been waiting for it to die. But in its heyday, it would produce 200 plus oranges every year. I mean, he probably paid $5 for that tree in 92, and it's paid off massively. We've used it for juicing, we've sold them, we've given them away, we've ate a lot of them. I don't know if we've made any marmalade or anything like that with them, but those are all possibilities when you have citrus trees. Myself personally, I love to experiment, so I have brought in like the ugly tangelos. I think they call them unique fruits. I've did them 2 or 3 times. For whatever reason, they're dead within a year or two, and maybe it was just bad luck, because I had the same experiences with Meyer lemons, and it took like 5 or 6 before one survived and is doing well. Our Sambokins, that was probably, $5 or $10 tree. I think I bought it at Lowe's. It's probably $9.99, unless I got it on clearance. Then it probably would have been like $4 or $5. It's produced massively over the years. And this year alone, we made money with the Sambokins. Just like a couple bags of fruit paid for the whole tree from way back when. and or marsh white. I think the quality of the marsh white grapefruit is not very pleasant. But, after taking it to professionals and they're saying this is what it's supposed to taste like, this is a marsh white, we sold tons and tons. Last year we sold some, this year we sold some, and we've made money on them. We haven't really enjoyed them because they're not like the Dunkin', the original grapefruit. And we'll go on to the next part of this. Over the years, people have said, why are you spending so much money on citrus trees when you can just go to the grocery store and buy them? Well, in some cases, that might have been a viable question or comment. But nowadays, with grocery prices the way they are, post-COVID, it's just ridiculous. And it sucks when you experiment with something that is not known to grow in your area and then it dies. And I understand I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on stuff, in the last 20, 25 years that has not made it. And I think I've all but given up on the hawthorn projects. I know they're native ones here, parsley haws and different things, and I have mayhaws. I'm still planting mayhaws, just because I found some grafted ones locally, and with the rust disease and stuff with junipers here, we can't get rid of the junipers, so that's going to be an issue where they're going to have to be sprayed with some kind of fungicide every year. But, I tried to find different types of hawthorns that may be resistant or that don't have the issue. But as far as I know, from my limited research, none of them, no other hawthorns have any sort of resistance to that disease. Mayhaws are a minor crop. They have mayhaw festivals in like Georgia, maybe Texas or Louisiana and stuff, but most other people in other states don't even know they exist, much less like Chinese hawthorns and stuff, which you can find the Chinese haw fruit and stuff and candied or whatever in the Asian markets and stuff. But that's not something substantial for anyone in the United States. It's nobody's going to say, okay, let's go pick some Chinese hawberries and just have a feast with them. So I'm going to show you what this rust looks like. There we go. That's rust on a mayhaw. I can't get it to focus in very good. So I'm going to show you an example of what rust looks like on a mayhaw. That's a mayhaw berry, almost ripe, or it should be. You can see them close to ripe one up there. And so this one is not ripe, but it's pretty much full size. They turn pretty much all red and maybe are a little bit squishy when they're ripe. But almost all of that is a big seed in it. All right, so what's left is mostly immature seed there. I just kind of moved the flesh off of it. So, mayhaws have a problem with size, plus disease. Here's one that's closer to being ripe. Let's pull it off. Yeah, I think that one's ripe. And the seeds are toxic, so you have to extract just the juice or whatever off of the outer edge. I think some people boil them and then just remove the seeds, and other people just press them in like a juice press, get all the juice out, and then discard everything else. And you can eat the outside fresh. Tastes kind of like a not great quality apple. Now this blood orange here has a lot of little oranges on it. This guy's just not really done a lot of growing. This has always been a sparse producer, maybe 15 blood oranges each year. think this was in the small gallon pots or something at Lowe's many years ago. It was $10. Now I think they're probably 15 or 20 bucks. But you know, we talked earlier about paying off fruit, mayhaws, oranges, whatever. This guy has paid off. It's just been slow. You know, hopefully it'll produce for another 20 years and get a little bit more growth and a little bit more production. We fertilize it just the same as everything else. It's just, maybe the rootstock's different. Maybe, I don't know what's going on with it. But we do have another blood orange we got and planted in one of those aged or raised wood chip alternative beds, so maybe it'll outproduce this guy. Then we have the red navel. As you can see, there are some fruit on it. There are some bad looking ones that are gonna fall. This one has a high drop rate, you know, where they drop the fruit before maturity. I mean, but it produced an okay amount. It's produced more than the blood orange over the years, but that's probably the same thing, you know. Probably paid 10 bucks for this guy, and the production is low, but it has paid off a little bit more than the blood orange. The kids really enjoyed this tree this year. I mean, because it has produced a little bit more than previous years. And I would love to have a high production of these guys to be able to take to market. Last year, all of the local nurseries were so low on stock for you know, one of them couldn't get persimmon trees. They claimed their nurseryman said that deer ate all of their plants. I guess it's possible. And this year, our Blue Star has said they've had a time keeping in stock of plants and getting plants, and I guess they took their own initiative to do their own grafting and stuff, and they've always done a decent level of propagating stuff on their own, but they also relied on outside sources, and they're claiming that the shipping price for their wholesale plants that they're getting, their slips or whatever they're ordering, and their large citrus trees has just gone through the roof. So they're actually going in with other plant nurseries and creating larger orders to kind of get that shipping cost, you know, per plant, per nursery down. So maybe you had an argument there about, you know, grocery prices 5 or 10 years ago versus the prices of paying for fruit trees and, you know, growing your own vegetables and crops. But the cost of groceries right now, even if they went down 10 or 20%, is still, it's very hard to live on. You know, it is a good idea to go ahead and invest in experimentation and knowledge in plants, trees, at least ones that, you know, I said experimentation, you know, for people that have the extra money. But if you don't, you know, invest in stuff that is known to grow in your area, that you can grow to save money, to feed your family. Of course, you're not going to live off of oranges, grapefruits, and lemons alone, right? I mean, you know, that's it. It's food, but it's mostly just juice, right? But grow your greens. Grow you some apples, peaches if they're good in your area. Grow some spineless cactuses if you like to eat them. Green beans, wax beans, asparagus, corn, cabbage, mulberries, kale, basil, you know, tomatoes. People love growing tomatoes, even me, even though I don't eat tomatoes except in pizza sauce. Do you some figs, mulberries, cassava, sweet potatoes, regular potatoes. Maybe you could grow some yams or something that's growing here, or some taro or Edo or something. You can do some muscadine grapes that's blooming right here. Blueberries, blackberries, avocados. Even beauty berries have their place. Chestnuts, pecans, elderberries. And don't forget persimmons.